Welcome to SuperTalk, a podcast hosted by Hillside Public Schools Superintendent Glover. The goal of SuperTalk is to provide an informative platform where Hillside Public School students, staff, and stakeholders can have a candid conversation with the district superintendent, as well as be spotlighted for their hard work and initiatives. Peace, and good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Super Talk with Superintendent Glover, coming to you live once again from Hillside Public Schools. And today I'm honored. I'm excited. No introduction is needed, but we'll do the introductions. To my left today, I have an icon, a Hall of Famer. I don't get to sit next to many Hall of Famers in my life, but today we're blessed to have someone take a little time out of his schedule to join us. I am excited. Welcome to Hillside Public Schools, Mr. Darryl DMC McDaniels.
Thanks for having me.
Round of applause. All right, shout out. Before we begin, happy Women's History Month, happy Social Workers Month. Giving a shout out to all of our social workers, definitely to all of our women. We all know the importance of women in our lives. Brother Darryl, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. The conversation today, everybody knows your music talents,
right?
But being that this is the month of, every month is Literacy Month, but being this is Read Across America Week.
Right.
This week, felt no other, it'd be important to have someone who's written a book. You've talked about your book, but your book has meaning, right? So we want to just dive into that.
Right.
You're out here doing things.
Yeah.
You're a philanthropist, activist, still an artist.
Right.
So,
I'm a representative of the hip hop culture.
Introduce yourself, brother. Give you a shout out.
You can call me Darryl. You can call me D. You can call me Darryl Mack. You could call me DMC. People always ask me, what does my name mean? D's for never dirty, MC for mostly clean. But sometimes I tell them when certain people ask that DMC means that Darryl makes cash, or Darryl makes cookies, or Darryl makes comics. But you can just call me D.
That's what I love. Folks, this is a blessing and an honor. So I'm not going to waste your time and just, go through. I want you to be able to share. Your journey is very unique, right? We all know you from being on stage. I remember seeing you on those summer night tours.
Yeah.
And just loving the way you rock the crowd. But within the last decade or so, you've been rocking your passion from a different lane. You've been embracing language.
Well,
Go ahead.
Before hip hop, before rock and roll, all I did as a kid was read, collect, and draw comic books. Now, the comic books allowed me to be a great student. And you would ask why. When I first saw...
Just so everybody knows, Rice High School?
Yeah, Rice High School, Harlem. But before that, I went to St. Pascal Baylon Elementary School in Hollis, Queens.
Okay.
But what had happened was, when I saw the first Batman comic book in kindergarten, I couldn't even read, but it was the image.
Right.
Those Batman covers, the art was like phenomenal. And I was like, what is this?
Right.
And just by looking at it, I felt something. That's me. You know what I'm saying? So I got into comic books because I saw a cover of Batman. But then, this is kindergarten. When I got into first grade, I discovered Marvel, Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man.
So you had all the little comic books you was collecting.
All of that, yeah. Prior to that, I'm buying them, but I can't even read them. I'm just looking at the pictures. But now, I'm in first grade, so now I can read. So I took a vow. I'm going to be a good student. And it wasn't to be academically phenomenal.
Right.
I just wanted to know what in the world they were talking about in the comic books. So comic books motivated me to get smart. So I can understand what Tony Stark's, Reed Richards, and Professor X was talking about.
Okay.
So elementary school was just comic books. So I would read, draw, collect. Read, draw, collect. Read, draw, collect. Wasn't into no music. I was a geeky and nerdy kid. Because now that I'm reading so well, my grades are superior. I'm A+ and all of that because I'm reading. And what was cool about my elementary school, we had nuns and priests, but we had a lot of lay teachers.
Right.
So we had Miss Keenan, my kindergarten teacher, Miss Peterson, 2nd grade, Miss Regina, 3rd grade, Miss Florentino, 4th grade, Miss Green, 5th grade, and 7th grade. But they were cool because, see how this book is set up here? So I was such an exceptional reader and student that I would finish all my class assignments early. So I would take the comic book and put it in the middle of the textbook on the desk like that.
All right.
And I would never try to sit in the front of the class. So I would sit in the back of the class because I'm reading my comic books during school time. But I remember 2nd grade, Miss Peterson, she would be like, Mr. McDaniels, bring it here. And I'd be like, huh? Looking around playing dumb. But at first I was shocked because I'm a kid. I would look around and try to see if my father was in the room because she called me Mr. McDaniels, a sign of respect. Okay. I'll be, my dad ain't in the room. She said, Mr. McDaniels, bring it here. I'll be, I know the comic book is in there. So I would have to give Miss Peterson my comic book. But at the end of the day, you know, you're thinking there was mean teachers would keep it.
Right.
Like something was wrong with it. But she would give it back to me at the end of the day because she put 2 and 2 together. This kid is reading. I don't care what he's reading, as long as he's reading. Because the whole perception was comic books are bad. Students need to read the textbooks and workbooks. 100% true. But the reason why I was reading my textbooks and workbooks was because I was enjoying the comic books. It was something I identified with. So long story short, which is comic books, comic books, comic books. So while I'm reading the comic books, what am I learning? I'm learning language, I'm learning literature, I'm learning storytelling. So as a kid, nothing about music. Music was my mother and father's music. You know, Al Green, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye. That was on my mother. All of that.
The reels, I hear you.
WWRL, Super 16, Frankie Crocker, Hank Stram, and all of that. So I'm a kid still. You know what I'm saying? But then this thing called hip hop comes along, and I first heard it in like 78. I was in 7th grade. And the hip hop is talking about all the stuff that I'm going through as a young person. Comic books, McDonald's, sneakers, this and that, you know, the bullies and all of that stuff. So that was my musical foundation. So I just started writing rhymes for me. It was a way of me communicating with myself, not knowing it would lead me to be sitting here with you.
D,
so it was never a desire to be in show business.
D, you spoke about the importance or your passion for reading through comic books. Right. I appreciate you sharing that because so often our kids don't think that, first of all, it's hard to go into a store and find comic books. I remember going in. You used to be a quarter. The price used to be up.
And you go into the candy store or the drugstore, and they be on the rack.
And you get your little corner. So kids are missing out on that. But I appreciate you sharing that. It doesn't have to be the traditional textbook for kids to have to always read.
No, I tell the kids this. Kids always ask me when I speak in all these schools, elementary and middle and high school kids, you know, what's the keys to success? I said, the first thing that you do is read about the thing you're attracted to. Exactly. Read about the thing. Even in athletes, get books on basketball players, on Dr. J. Don't just read on Steph Curry and LeBron. Go back and read about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Dr. J. We did that. See, what people don't know is hip-hop culture was only allowed to become a genre because we saw the importance in bettering ourselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When we was coming up in the streets, and back then we didn't have access to education like these kids now. I tell these kids, take advantage of the opportunity to go to school because some kids don't get that. We come from a place where, you know, if you was homeless or if you was in the streets or if you didn't have a family system supporting you, we come from a place where we would go to the library.
Exactly.
A library card was right. And you go there and you would get books.
Yeah.
And you would, whatever it was, if it was signed, you would read about
You
it.
guys many books as you could get and take home, right?
So hip hop didn't just, what kids need to understand, hip hop didn't just create rappers. It created writers, poets, designers, graffiti. Only thing wrong about graffiti was we was writing on walls we didn't own. But it took art connoisseurs to say, no, these kids have art in them. And without a dime in our pockets, it made us walk upright. So I always encourage the kids, reading language and literature has always been a part of hip hop. The problem is now it's not celebrated as a part of hip hop. But for me, it all started with me reading comic books. And you can talk to everybody from Pete Rock to Method Man to Eminem, how important comic books was in our lives as young people. And you know, the superhero and the strength and all that stuff was really cool, but in a lot of the comic books we saw ourselves, it was struggle and adversity. And I'm saying it wasn't about just every superhero goes through some traumatic events.
So when you just started talking about your comic, and tell everybody what the DMC stands for in the comic book so everybody knows.
The DMC basically means Darryl Makes Comics.
Simple and plain.
But DMC is the initials of my name, D from Darryl, MC from McDaniels. But I can make that mean, I could define something I learned in school. I could take an adjective. Y'all know what that word is, right? I learned that in school a long time ago. But I could take an adjective that is powerful, positive, and productive, and put that in front of my name to become whatever it is that I want to be.
So when you started thinking about designing or creating this superhero, what were some of the characteristics you wanted your superhero to have?
I wanted the number one purpose we created the DMC universe and my superhero is I don't want people to see me as great. I want them to see characters, images, ideas, and concepts that they can see themselves in. So one of the characteristics that I wanted my superhero to have, in the DMC universe, I'm not the rapping superhero. Mm-hmm. One of the things you got to know about Run DMC and what we created, never do anything corny. So I'm not going to be, I'll beat you and defeat you when I meet you. No. In the comic book, one of the characteristics that I had, I was like, it's the alternate universe. It's me, Darryl McDaniels, but I'm not. In this universe here, my superpower is hip hop and rock and roll. But in the DMC comic book, I really have superpowers. But who am I? So when I was coming up with the concept for the superhero, Riggs Morales, my co-creator, he asked me, he said, D, if you wasn't doing music, what you would be doing? And I went, nobody never asked me that for. I don't know. I was a kid. I was drawing comic books and I was just rhyming to be rhyming and I had no idea. I made it to St. John's University because of my academic excellence and I was taking business management. But I only took business management because my best friend told me to pick business management at St. John's. So when Riggs asked me that, I was like, I don't know. And then I had to think. The only thing I was really good at was being a student. So I said, if I wasn't rhyming, I'd probably be a teacher because I love school. Oh, wow. He said, that's it. Wow. It's a DMC universe. You're going to be a teacher who discovers he has superpower. Wow. Okay. So it wasn't even me, but you see how all of that is connected. And then Riggs Morales, he was Eminem's, one of the executives at Eminem's Shady Records for the rise of that great empire. Right. But he was like, that's it. You're going to be a teacher. Now, in the book, I'm teaching. I'm not rapping. But, of course, the kids, the culture's there. The kids is doing hip-hop. Kids is doing rock. The kids is doing punk. The kids is doing R&B. So the idea behind the DMC comic is it's everything that me and everybody else not was but is. Because I don't like to speak in past tense. We used to know. Comic books are eternal. Education is eternal. Music is eternal. So what people don't realize, the old school isn't a time period. The old school is the consciousness of how you creatively, artistically, culturally, and spiritually, educationally, and artistically present yourself. And you can present yourself through music as a DJ. You can present yourself through music as a rapper or a poet. You can present yourself as an artist. Breakdancing. What blows my mind, kids don't understand, it's something that young people created. So if those young people 50 years ago could create this art form of dance called breakdancing, that's now in the Olympics.
Right, exactly, right?
See, you got to see progress. You know what I'm saying? When you look at, we were just rhyming in the park. Now we get to rhyme inside Madison Square Garden. So the kids need to know their potential. So the potential and the powers in my comic book is powers that everybody has, but sometimes they're so busy looking at other things, trying to be like everybody else, that they miss out on their opportunity.
D, you just brought something to my mind. So have you ever been asked to sit on an education foundation and be part of the book writing or curriculum choices or textbook choices? Have you ever been asked to sit
No,
on?
not yet, but
So
my kids' book has now been incorporated into different schools around.
So I'm going to ask
New
you
York.
to do a PSA to superintendents and district leaders and explain to them the importance of bringing comics back into
Done.
the classroom.
That's
right?
easy.
I think
That's
I think
done.
what you just shared even enlightened me as I sit here. I'm like, so many of our kids love graphic novels. So many of our kids,
Yes.
this is what we're into, right?
Yep, the
This is what
graphic
keeps them into the
novels.
classroom.
Yep.
But you just explained another space, a space of understanding how to engage our students in literacy, in reading, right? That superintendents need to hear this, no matter where
Yeah.
they're sitting in America right now. The
Right.
power of comic books. Because I would love to walk into a classroom and see comic books in the
Oh,
classroom.
for sure.
Right?
Yep. With all the stories that the kids can relate to.
And they can write them.
And they
Right?
can
And
write
then-
them.
and
They
we
can
can-
create
we can
their
buy 'em and
own
they can be in the
story.
classroom.
Exactly.
Yo, you're about
they
to-
can choose the ones that they want to
about
read.
to sit on
Because
this
you got to look at it like this. You understand? I'm a geeky, nerdy kid living in the hood who wears glasses, who gets teased, bullied, and picked on. I thought life was miserable until I started reading those comic books. People think that during my career, when I was shouting out Queens, I was doing it to rep my hood. No, it goes deeper than that. I wasn't trying to rep my hood. When I was a little kid and I'm reading Marvel comic books, and I found out Peter Parker, who happens to be Spider-Man, comes from Queens, it was real to me.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you brought that connection. Okay.
And hold up, Peter Parker was awkward, struggling, but he was smart. Now, here's the thing that's going to blow your mind, all of you that think education and stuff is corny. We look at superheroes, right? We see their physical powers, right? Some of the superheroes are aliens from other universes and galaxies. Some of the superheroes are actually gods. But one thing that I love Stan Lee about, when he created his comic book, he dealt with racism.
Right.
X-Men was about racism
Yeah.
and hate and this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He addressed political, social, and religious issues in a way that everybody can understand. Oh, this is, I know this. This is happening to me. So when you think about education, when I found out that Peter Parker was from Queens and he was a smart, he was a student, he had struggles, all of us have this power. And it's right in front of your face in the book. Most of these super physically strong superheroes are educated. Tony Stark's, he had to know something to create all that armor.
Sure did.
He's considered one of the most powerful minds in the MCU. The Hulk, one of the most powerful superheroes ever, right under Superman. He's not just Bruce Banner. There's some letters in front of it. Dr.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Tony Stark's pulled Dr. Bruce Banner in. You've seen the movies, you read the book.
Yeah.
The X-Men, their leader isn't just X. He's Professor Reed Richards. Look at all the superheroes that exist. Look at the Flash, Barry. They're all educated.
You're dropping some nuggets and knowledge.
So
that
what
people
is the
understand.
real superpower? I tell kids, why do you think you can be so good at whatever it is that you do? The greatest basketball players ever, some of them came straight from high school into the NBA.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one.
Kobe.
Kobe.
And hold up, they get $100 million contracts. I tell the kids, here's something that's right in front of your face, and y'all think it's a joke. Why do you think every athlete who is so good to go from high school into the NBA and getting millions of dollars, but why do you think y'all see it in the off season? You're watching ESPN, and it'll say such and such went back to school to get a degree. Because they know the mind. If you hurt your knee, that ball don't mean nothing to you. But if you educate yourself, you can have a career longer than Jordan in the NBA. Management, ownership, medical, sport broadcasting, all of it. And the kids go, whoa, we didn't see that. Shaq went back and just, Shaq probably got $1 billion and just don't talk about it. But he did, he showed, I got a degree in, you got to know, son, this is the greatest muscle.
So you've done the comic books, you've written the books, but there's another part of the work that you said, and you mentioned this earlier, that this became therapy for you, right?
Oh, for sure.
Talk about how writing and the work that you're doing is therapeutic, not just for you, but you also get a chance for others to see inside of what this has done for you, and hopefully it helps them.
Everybody goes through the depression. Everybody gets sad. And I remember one lady, she wrote, sadness is just one of the lowest levels of happiness.
Repeat that. Say that again. So
sadness is just one of the lowest levels of happiness. So there's nothing really to get despondent about. Everybody goes through something. I went through something in 1993 when we put Down with the King, where Pete Rock, he hates when I say this, Pete Rock saved our career. He gets so shy about that. But it's crazy. Pete Rock did the same thing for Run DMC that Run DMC did for Aerosmith in '86 when we did Walk This Way, brought us back. So in '93, we were still revered. The Godfather is the reason why, but we wasn't participating as much.
Right.
Biggie, Pac,
right.
Wu-Tang, Naughty by Nature, the Fugees, it was killing. Everybody still loved, but you know, we was the OG, we was the old men in it. Right. But everybody showed us love. When Pete Rock produced Down with the King, it put us back on the chart, back on the road, back on MTV, back on the big tours, and we was kicking everybody's butt. Right. Nobody want. We were opening for Naughty, we were opening for Tribe Called Korea. They all kicked us off their tours because we were so good. And I tell kids, yeah, I'm an OG, but the longer you do something, the better you get. That's right. So when Down with the King came out, I just got depressed. And I got to the point where I didn't want to live no more. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I said, man, if I die tomorrow, people know the Run DMC story, the music, the videos, tours. My Adidas Walk This Way. But they don't know the kid Darryl, who's no different from any other kid on the face of the earth. So I was going to write a book. And in the book, I wanted to go, what's up, world? I'm Darryl McDaniels from the groundbreaking rap group Run DMC. First to go gold, first to go platinum, first on the cover Rolling Stone, first on MTV, first everything that hip-hop is doing. They say it's because of me running J, but I'm really just Darryl McDaniels, no different from any kid on the face of the earth. I was born May 31st, 1964. And when I got to that identifying part about my birthday, I was like, I know my birthday, but I don't know no details. Right. So just to make it more interesting for the reader, I called my mom's up. Now, looking back now, I should have said, Mom, I'm going through something. I'm depressed, this and that. But you know, stigma, oh, you gotta be cool and you gotta be strong. And even deeper than that, you don't wanna put your troubles on nobody else. So you hold it and you hide it. So I did. And I was just like, yo, Mom, I need to know this. I'm writing this book. I know my birthday is May 31st, 1964. I need 3 questions answered. How much did I weigh? What time? What hospital? She told me. Hung up the phone. An hour goes by. At this point in my career, I'm going through something, holding it in, not telling nobody about it. So the only thing that I know something wrong. I'm not telling nobody. I'm not seeking help. And I'm DMC, the king of rock. There is none higher. Right. Who walked his way in his Adidas to tell the world how tricky life can be. I'm one of the most powerful beings in this galaxy. And I didn't know where to go. Right. Because I never had to address anything like that. So now I'm self-medicating.
Right.
Old English, Bacardi and rum, this and that. But my mother tells me that hour goes by. At this point, I'm an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who doesn't want to be here anymore. Phone rings, it's my mother and my father. We have something else to tell you.
Wow.
What? I thought they was gonna go, when you was born, there was a power outage in the hospital. Yeah. We gave birth to you by candlelight. No, they hit me with this. You was a month old when we brought you home and you're adopted, but we love you. So I was 35 years old when I found out that I was adopted while I was depressed. So imagine what that did to me. So I went through a rough struggle period. Then I started hearing other people talk about, I'm adopted too, and I'm alcoholic, this and that. And then I realized I'm not alone. And then I looked at my platform.
Exactly.
Everything was, okay, you went through something, but now you have an opportunity not just to help yourself, but you can help others. Because it's somebody who hasn't walked where you've been can't tell you. Yeah. But if you experienced it and you made it out, so now everything added up. Spider-Man and superheroes, education, hip-hop, rock and roll, and communication. So I said, oh my God, this Run DMC stuff, this King of Rock stuff was the setup for me to allow me to do something above and beyond just rock and rhymes. So when I realized that even though we all go through messed up things, you still have a purpose. So that situation encouraged me, let me go get clean and sober. So now I'm taking care of myself. Let me go get clean and sober. But then, while I went to get clean and sober, I discovered this thing called therapy.
Right.
Where I sat there with my therapist, and she said, you can be angry, sad about your emotions. I said, I got permit. I was able to cry. I was able to laugh. I was able to look back. And, I even laughed at the fact that, dang, my mother and father and my brother and all my cousins and all my neighbors held the secret from me because they cared about me. They thought my truth was going to ruin me. But now that I got a better understanding of it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to stumble and this and that. Then I realized this is something everybody goes through. So it gave me a purpose like Spider-Man, the Spider-Man movie, boys and girls. Peter gets all discouraged and gets down, and Aunt May says to him, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. Oh my God, hip hop has given me a superpower. So it brought me to a point where do not be ashamed of your situation, because your situation doesn't define who you are. Look at me. I've been sad, I've been depressed, I've been alcoholic. Unfortunate things have happened in my life, but those situations don't define me. Because after I found out that I was adopted, which made it worse, now I'm alcoholic. Jam Master Jay gets shot and killed. Yeah. Then my father died. So I was going through a lot. But when I went to therapy, going back to what you said, and you even said that, conversation about your situation leads you to transformation. 100%. Don't be ashamed. Look, we're homeless. I live with my mother, don't have my father. I live with my father, don't have my mother. We all go through stuff. There's death, darkness, and destruction all around us. But conversation about your situation leads to transformation. Now let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of hip hop. Everything that's going on now was going on in the back in the days of hip hop. When you listen to the message now, you can look at it differently and say that wasn't just a news flash of another murder or another robbery. The message is a mental health call. Right? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Don't push me. And it talked about all the issues that we did. Since Mel and Duke Booty and the Furious Five had that conversation, it inspired Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, which was a street gang, to make a record called Planet Rock. Gave them vision and purpose. Okay, we know it's messed up in here, but we know a place where everybody can eat. We ain't got to fight no more. We ain't got to sell drugs no more. Because the Zulu Nation did what the Black Panthers did. They started getting vans, taking meals to their people. See, they don't write about that. They don't write about that. But they rather promote us as uneducated gangbangers and drug dealers than talk about uneducated gangbangers and drug dealers who use information, education, artistic creation to transform themselves and not just their communities. So I tell the kids, all of this stuff that you go through in school is just practice to prepare you for whatever it is that you, doctor, lawyer, entertainer, basketball player. See, it's all connected, but nobody talks about it.
Brother Darryl, you're dropping nuggets. Like I wish this was a class. Right now, I just want to have students sitting down because you could have a class not just about the art, right, but also about life and how everything's intertwined.
Yes,
everything's intertwined. And so for our young people and even others who are watching, what I appreciate and love about what you're doing is you're being vulnerable and transparent. You've been telling your story for a while, and we have to be, especially as a Black community, right? Yeah. But even as young people, we have to understand about being vulnerable.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
so maybe our young people now.
So I tell kids, I've been in the music business 40 years. I still get scared to death before going on stage. Word. It's okay to be scared.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a natural reaction.
It's a natural. These emotions are yours, but we hide from them. It's like the dude in the neighborhood when we was younger that was beating everybody up, and the physical thing. Oh, we love him and you're afraid of him. You're afraid of the Hulk because he can, he's beating everybody. Nobody never once stepped. They let him go. He had a reputation for your whole childhood. The first week that it happened, nobody sat him down and said, who's beating on you?
Exactly.
Or who do you see beating on? Because this what happened. In my kids' book, Charlie and Denise are actual two people I used it. Now I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. Charlie and Denise were actually two people that made my life miserable. For some reason, they just picked on me every day. Like I did not understand. But this happened one day. This isn't in the book though. I lived on 197th Street. Charlie lived on 196th Street. So he was coming around the block just to pick on, just to get at me. Your glasses, your bike, your sneakers, what it is, smacking my ice cream out my hand, just the whole thing. So I got to the point where being vulnerable means have a conversation about what you're going through. Being weak, scared, and afraid and confused or whatever doesn't mean that you're not worthy of anything. Right. So get to the point of young people, whatever it is that you're going through, you might not want to tell your boy, tell a teacher, tell a parent. Even if you don't want to tell nobody close to you, go down to your corner supermarket and Mr. McGillicuddy, say, Mr. McGillicuddy, can I speak to you for a second? Because 99.9% of the time when you do that, and you go, your whole thing is, I've never told anybody because you're so ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. When you tell Mr. McGillicuddy what you're going through, he's going to say, oh, I'm so glad you told me that because me too. But going back to, don't be afraid to share what you're going through because 99% of the time, your conversation about your situation will allow you to find your way out of that.
Yeah, I know my team is looking at the time like, you're about to come out here and grace our students with your energy and your love.
Well, I'll come back.
We can talk all
the
time.
Yeah.
But listen,
Sure.
I want to say, because part of this work about you being as vulnerable and transparent is also about you.
Yeah, vulnerable is not a weakness.
You've been in spaces that so many people think is a popular space to be. Right? And it's a gateway to other spaces. What has been the most intriguing or unique space outside of hip hop, outside of the culture of music, that has made you even go deeper to knowing about yourself?
Probably you shouted it out at the beginning of this. Being around these social workers, being with real people in your society or in your environment that are actually going through stuff, and they ain't making rap records and songs and movies and fictional films about it. They're living through it every day. It has empowered me in such ways. It's an education. It's an education. I was speaking to a guy from Africa, and he said there's a reason why they keep their stories alive, because you got to keep the stories alive of the elders, because that is where the power and all the message and all the keys to survival is. But if we let the stories die, then the people die. You know what I'm saying? And every story is about vulnerability and adversity, trauma, and casualty. But every story that is spoken, it always ends, but then this happened.
Right.
So, like I said, we want, and they're not just kids, we want the fast, easy way out of it. When it's the experience that gives you what you need. What I was going to say earlier, nobody realizes that most superheroes have been through trauma. All of those educated, super strong, cool superheroes have been through trauma. And it all comes from somewhere where nobody stopped. What I was going to say earlier was Charlie would come pick on me. So I got fed up and I said, I'm going to tell my brother. So I told my brother. So the next day, Charlie came around the corner to mess with me. My older brother sitting right there. So Charlie sees that. Hold up. He's about to run because he thinks my brother's going to beat him up. My brother said, no, Charlie, no, come in. Let me talk to you. He asked Charlie, why are you picking on Darryl? Like, Charlie couldn't say nothing. He was like, why? Come on, just give me something. He couldn't give him, but my brother was like, yo, there's got to be something going on with you to make you pick her down. Charlie didn't say anything except follow me. So we left 197th Street. We went around the corner to his block. Now remember, he was leaving his right. And he pointed at the kid that was picking on him. So my brother got smart. He called the kid that was picking on Charlie. What's your problem with Charlie? Kid didn't have an answer for that. So my brother made me, Charlie, and the kid that was picking on Charlie sit in the room, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. We sat and we found out we had more in common. Comic books, all the stuff. Charlie fronting and reading and stuff like that. He at home secretly reading, but he's not coming outside because the kids that was playing hooky and joining the gangs and selling the drugs didn't think that was cool. But now he realized that, oh man, there's 7 other kids who are in common like me. I ain't got to hang with those 7 knuckleheads. And that's the same thing that hip hop did. Hip hop allowed us to stop fighting over streets we don't own. Yep. We learned that. I'm fighting you. We grown up. I'm from the west side, east side. Always. And then we look back and go, man, my father and brother is in jail. My cousins is dead. And now here we are. We doing the same thing. All hip hop did was this. Let me stop fighting you and talk to you. What do you like? Yo, I like music. I like poetry. Put the music with the poetry. Not a dime was spent. That's how you create. So now me and you got the music and poetry thing. We getting paid for it. But the kids that didn't understand electronics and poetry and didn't know nothing about, R&B, rhythm and blues, hip hop is you, asking you what is it like to do. Man, when I hear that music, I want to dance. Oh, you want to dance? Oh, you want to do ballet? You want to tap dance? You young people have so much power that the world will say, oh, we heard you want to dance, you want to dance. And you can say something as outrageous as, I don't want to tap dance or do ballet. So what kind of dance you want to do? I want to dance and spin on my head. Now the world will laugh at that, but that's not outrageous and it's not impossible because they laughing at me. I don't have a stage. I can't go to Apollo. I can't go to Carnegie Hall. You know what? Go to the store and get those cardboard boxes. Yep. You got a dance floor. So kids need to understand, regardless of what's going on around you, you never have lack. I tell kids, everything that's going to empower you is right there, and it's free. Books in the library, all you got to do is get a library card, and then they like, they Jesse Jackson, I was at an event with Jesse Jackson about 20 years ago, was deans and superintendents and educators and CEOs, and we all in this meeting and stuff like that, and Jesse Jackson said something that was powerful to the whole room. Networks didn't listen, the media didn't listen, but Jesse Jackson said MTV Cribs is cool, but it shows results, not process. Mm-hmm. You don't know what they went through to get there. Right. So when you look at hip hop, we ain't have a discotheque to go through. We didn't have a building. We didn't have resources. We didn't have money. But we had the records and the speakers. We took it to the streets. I tell kids, we're looking for a power source. We ain't got no money or building. One little kid who paid attention in science said, all right, when the sun goes down in the summertime around 8:30, there's a sensor on top of the light pole that makes the light come on. So the kid put two and two together. It's got to be electricity in the light pole. Get me a screwdriver. Went to the bottom of that light pole, popped it open, and it was a plug in there. We plugged in our electronics, played our music, and stole electricity from the city of New York to make this hip hop happen. But see, you gotta
New York,
educate.
don't send the bill now. It's past time.
Right. Yeah, we probably owe y'all. Man Adams, we probably owe y'all a big check. But you see, those are the kids that paid attention and saw value in the right information.
Yo, brother, you know, you could have been a teacher. You
That's
like
crazy.
real talk. Like,
Well,
you-
it's crazy. I'm always in schools, and somebody told me that. They said, "D, you are teaching."
you and you're using your platform in so many ways. I'm appreciative. We can sit here all day and talk, and I love it. And I know the kids are excited to see you. We're excited to have you. Let me just say this and close out, because I want you to have the word. This is like sometimes you gotta just sit down and just listen and let you run the show. And you definitely been running the show, and I'm listening and understanding.
That's key. Say that again. Sometimes you have to sit down.
Sometimes you have to sit down and just listen. And you
That's
gotta and that's not everyone can do that.
I know.
It's not about the titles, right?
Right, no, not at
'cause
all.
The titles don't go with you when you're not here on the earth no
For
longer.
sure.
So sometimes you have to sit back and listen. Your voice is powerful. I've watched your videos, and I'm not talking about your music video. I was watching when you spoken to folks, when you speak to young people.
Yeah.
Your passion is pure, and I appreciate your story. I appreciate what you brought to the table today for our young people. I was recently talking to a group of young people, and I asked them, what is the importance all of a sudden of you self-medicating? And I don't think many of our people understand that they have a platform to go to, because too many of our young people are vaping, indulging in drugs,
Right.
and
Reaching for something outside of themselves to make them feel good. It wasn't until I stopped reaching for the things where I really felt good. The problem with our community is this: harmful, self-destructive behaviors are celebrated in our communities. Oh, he can take 20 shots. No, stop him after the fifth one and say, what's wrong? Oh, he's beating everybody up. Stop him after the third fight that he's getting expelled and say, what's wrong? And you don't need to, a lot of the kids that the social workers work with, they say, every time I get an issue with me, they give me a pill. And stuff. No, don't give them a pill. Sit down with the kid and say, what's going on? I had kids tell me they be in meetings and the corporation is trying to sell the drugs to them. They're using him as a guinea pig. And all he wanted to do was just sit and talk to somebody and tell them how I feel. It's funny, when I talk at a lot of elementary schools and middle schools now. And, I talk about, don't be ashamed if you're going through something. Tell your mother, father, whatever. And I tell my story about finding out that I'm adopted and Jay passing away and all that. And when I do Q&A with the younger people, see, the older kids are funny. They just want to know, do you know Kendrick Lamar? Yeah. The high school kids are college kids.
Yeah.
The college kids are grown now. It didn't used to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But the younger kids, middle school and kids, they at an age where their powers are developing.
and
They're
100%.
becoming the Superman and the Wonder Woman and stuff like that. So when I speak to them about real issues, Q&A ain't about nothing celebrity. Like you just said, it ain't about, it's how did you feel when you got bullied and teased? Simple stuff like, how did you feel when your mother said, you gotta go to sleep at 9, you can't stay up till 10 to watch the movie? And I was mad at, and then they go, because what happens is a lot of the stuff that they go through that cause them to self-medicate is because of this. Your 3rd and 4th grade son or daughter comes to you and says something to you that is very mature. But it's not a mature thing, it's a life thing.
Yeah.
But we have the habit, I don't do it no more, but I've done it when my son was little. Don't say that, you're too young to say that. That little thing is traumatic to them. Right. That's more than a slap. Mommy, I'm feeling this way about this guy, this girl, whatever it is. Don't say that. And we tell them, don't say that. You're too young to talk about that now. When you do that, it's like a punch. So now they go, that's wrong. So when they get 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and those feelings come up, they remember that day when they were little. So now, I'm not supposed to feel like that. So they'll go smoke, they'll go drink to get rid of what we could. No, it was a pervert. Sit down with the kid and say, what's making you feel like that? They will explain the whole problem. Well, it started with the clay, and I was trying with the Play-Doh, but we shut them down. They got to be able to talk about what they're going through because we all feel. And the kids, they love me because I said, I was 35 going through what you're going through at 8, but look at you. And it makes, I can handle it. We have to prepare our kids for the adversity that's going to come. The only way they can be armed and prepared for that is if we allow them to feel and be real about what they're feeling. Let them talk about it. Hip hop was about talking. Me, I got teased, bullied, and picked on, but I wasn't ashamed of being a geek and nerd. That's why y'all can go hear the record. Ask your mother and father. Matter of fact, I've been around so long, your grandmother and grandfather know I. When Ron passed me the mic, I didn't rhyme about being in a gang and selling drugs and fighting. My first words was, I'm DMC, and the place to be, I go to St. John's University. And since kindergarten, I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I'm going straight to college. So I wasn't ashamed. Don't be ashamed about what you are, who you are. And that's what hip hop is. Hip hop is come as you are. It's not about being in hip hop. It's about what you bring to it.
Life lessons from DMC, Darryl, DMC, McDaniels. Listen, I tell you, I can sit here all day and we can converse. Brother, you are just a beam of energy, a radiant sun and shining star for us here in Hillside.
No, but we are. But I always tell kids, when you look up into the sky, there's not one star.
That's right.
It's a gazillion of them. You are one of those stars too.
Well, you made Hillside brighter today, and we're going to make sure we give this information
and
to our
now
kids.
Come back Christmas, but the next book coming out after Darryl's Dream is Young DMC's Christmas in Hollis, with a great story about, it's not just about Christmas, it's about everyday stuff. I'll come back for that one.
It's done. And we'll have you back. Look, I'm going to shout out everything you're doing because a lot of people don't know. They know hip-hop. They know the Adidas. And yes, folks, he is rocking Adidas today. The traditional. You got to do it. And I'm going to...
He got his on.
I'm going to do my little...
And I walked in and I said, where'd you get those from?
Right? But you know what? We gotta represent for the culture. But I want to shout out Darryl's Dream. He's going to be talking about that book and reading it with our students. Great children's book. I've read it a few times.
You can get it in any bookstore or on Amazon.
Got a plug.
You got a plug.
DMC's Cookies.
Darryl makes cookies.
Darryl makes cookies.
Right now, you can go to Tony's Minis in Newark and get them, or you can order them online at DMC-cookies.com.
Look at that. He always knows his plug. But this is the one that, this is in our school district. Every student here in Hillside, parents and community members, every student in 3rd and 4th grade, let me clean that up. Every student in 3rd and 4th grade is getting this book today. Shout out and thank you, Darryl, for your team for making it happen. Gave a nice little shout out to our students in that. He's going to be signing some books for our students. But this is what I'm excited about. I want to get this in our district as well. DMC, Darryl Makes Comics. All right, if you know his story, I was a comic book fan. I'm going to tell you a quick little story.
Go ahead.
I collected them. I had them.
For sure.
Go off to college. My mom and dad cleans out my room, takes all my basketball trophies, takes everything, packs them in a box. I go home, I say, where's my comics at? And I had classics.
That happens. No, that happens to everybody.
So I said, Dad, where's my comics? Where's my comics? Oh, they're in the garage. Last 2 summers, every time I go home and see the crib, I'm tearing the garage up. I said, Dad, you threw my comics away, didn't you?
They did.
You know that silent look that your parents give you?
They did.
Like, and I'm like,
because you come home so excited about you're a grown man. No, 150,000% that happens to everybody. It happens with comic books and it happens with vinyl.
No. We don't want to talk about my brother's a DJ. That's another story. He came home one day and he didn't scratch up Dad's records.
Yeah.
But shout out to the comics. We're going to make sure we get some of these in the district as well. How can we get our hands on your comics?
You can go to Darryl Makes Comics website, or you can go to your local comic book store and they will order it for you. Or come to the Comic Con. Every year I'm at New York City Comic Con. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
The images are beautiful, but it's his story. And I love the superheroes about being a teacher.
Yes.
Think about that.
That's
my career right there. Hillside, stand up. We have been blessed. The mic is still fire. It's hot. none other than the great, the icon, the hip-hop legend, and Hall of Famer, Mr. Darryl DMC McDaniels.
Till next time.
Brother.
Awesome.